Anthony, great to have you here as always. Okay. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy wrote in an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal that, quote, our ever-growing bureaucracy is an existential threat to our republic. A little hyperbole, maybe, but eliminating government waste sounds like a great thing. Doing it is another.
I mean, the irony is we've had great population growth since the 80s, but the number of governmental employees is really unchanged since the Reagan administration. So I hear what they're saying, and I'm not saying there isn't fat and some bloatation in the government, but it is impossible to do what they're doing the way the laws are set up. And so you and I remember the Grace Commission.
Yeah.
Reagan put out that study. You and I would also remember Simpson Bowles that was happening in the Obama administration. They took the report from them and says, hey, thank you very much for it. And both Paul Ryan and President Obama put it in the paper shredder. So I understand what they're trying to do, and they may have some savings. The reporter mentioned $500 billion in savings. In that is $119 billion for VA medical care. So I don't know, is the American government going to deny veterans who have fought in wars on behalf of the American people and the United States medical attention? I don't know. I don't think that that's going to happen. And so when you say that I don't want the government to be run by like a business, because it's not a business. Remember, for-profit entities have different motivations. The government is in the service of the American people, and the government's there to protect people. It's there to smooth out the edges of business cycles. It's there to provide a safety net for people that are indigent in the country and to provide levels of fairness and equal opportunity for people. And as a non-profit, it's more as existential and it's more immortal. There's no company in the United States, as an example, that's been in the Dow Jones Industrial Average for the last 100 years.
Right.
And yet the government's 250 years old for a reason, because it's not run for profit. It's run for the service of the American people. And I think it's very dangerous to draw the analogy. When business executives say to me, we got to run the government
like a business.
I'm like, guys, it's not a business.
You know,
and so I think the mistake that these guys are making is the incremental stuff. And I'll just say one last point quickly. We had pay-as-you-go legislation that was brought forth by George Herbert Walker Bush. It was guardrails on the Congress. You couldn't raise social services without concomitant taxes. You couldn't cut taxes without finding something to cut in the budget. And we put that in place. Bill Clinton adhered to it, and we started running a budget surplus at the end of Bill Clinton's term. Go back to pay-as-you-go. Go back to this type of guidance and some guardrails. It'll take 10 or so years, but you'll start right-sizing the deficit as a percentage of GDP without doing excessive damage to the structure of the American government.
Yeah, you raise a good point that, you know, on its face, yes, we can't keep spending $2 trillion more than we take in. You know, yes, we have a lot of government waste and a lot of government bloat, but when you start actually talking about what's on the chopping block, cutting off medical care to our nation's veterans is not only is it politically unpalatable, it's cruel. And I can't fathom that that's something that Donald Trump would want to do. You know, Musk says he wants to cut $2 trillion from the budget, but, you know, Trump has said, I'm not going to cut Social Security. I'm not going to cut Medicare. That leaves military spending. Trump has pledged not to, you know, not to do that. And polls show Americans want more military spending, not less. This is actually really hard.
No question. And so what I would say is get guidelines in place, reduce some of the growth. You know that there's foreign factors in those departments, anywhere from 3 to 5%, just natural organic increases in their budgets. Maybe that shouldn't happen. Maybe we should slow down the growth or have zero growth in a few places. And then over time, as the GDP grows and tax revenues grow, it'll create a lower deficit. The bad news is this stuff can't be fixed overnight, Elizabeth.
Right.
This is a multiple decade sort of thing that would have to happen.
But thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.